How's it going, Ryan? You're on mute.
There we go.
So, Ryan, I think you're the first one here. We're waiting on Diane Hoover. Let's say, is Diane on here? Oh, okay, I see you. And so we're waiting on Mrs. Mestis, Tracy Odd, or Marisa Mestis, Tracy Odd, Miss Hubler. We're getting there.
We're a few minutes early.
Yeah, we got a few minutes to go. Hopefully soon we'll be meeting in person.
That will be nice.
And I'll let everybody know this, but when we do meet in person, it will shortly be in a new location.
Oh, okay.
Because once the new public services building gets opened up here in the next probably 60 to 90 days, where all of our meetings will be out there.
That's out at that'd be east of Home Depot?
Yeah, east of Home Depot, 214th and 94th.
94th, yep. So, did you get the other planning position filled?
The what?
Did you get the other planning position filled?
Yes. Maddie is our new associate planner. She's here tonight.
Okay. I would have thrown my hat in the ring, but I just started a new job.
It happens. All right, so Carrie's here, so we do have a quorum. We'll give him a couple more minutes because we're missing. Missing Tyler, Pablo, and Tracy.
He should be trying to get in. I actually just talked with him. He was on the road still, so trying to do it on his phone.
Who did you talk to, Carrie?
Pablo.
Oh, okay.
Hi guys, I'm new to the group.
Yeah. Marissa's one of our new planning commissioners. Diana Hoover is a new one. And so we're just waiting on Tracy. It sounds like Pablo's getting on. And then Tyler. Has anybody heard from Tyler?
Uh-uh.
Oh, Tracy's here.
Hi. Sorry, I'm unlatching my gate and letting my animals loose.
No worries.
And she can get kind of like,
Girls be good.
All right. So we're just, Carrie, have you heard? So you said you heard from Pablo. He's trying to get logged on right now.
Yeah, he was trying to do it through his phone.
And then Tyler knew there was a meeting tonight. He was having a hard time getting his emails, but he knew where to get the packet and how to log on.
All right. We're going to give Pablo about 2 more minutes, and then we're going to have to get started. Carrie, do you have Pablo's? Do you want to call Pablo real quick and see if he's able to get on?
I just texted him actually.
Okay. I figured you guys were working on it on the backside.
Stuff to read in this packet that Debbie sent out.
Pablo.
Hello,
Okay.
everybody.
Hey, Pablo's here. All right, we'll go 1 more minute, and then I will. Hey, Pablo, because we're in a new calendar year, I'll go ahead and get the meeting started and get us through the election of chair, and then I'll turn the meeting over to whoever the chair is if it changes or doesn't change.
Restarting it right now.
Okay, well, if we have to, we can bump you and do the planning commission bylaws. I'll keep an eye to see when you come back up. And if worst case scenario, you can just roll over here and we can put our masks on. All right. Well, it's 6:04, so let's get started. I'm assuming the 3 call-ins are not planning commissioners, so their mics will be muted for the meeting. Planning commissioners, if you aren't speaking, please mute your mics because we get a lot of feedback on this. I'll keep my eye out to see if you're talking without having your mics on, but it's just trying to kind of keep the meeting moving kind of forward. So first, we're going to do the call to order. I'm going to have Debbie. Yes, Ms. Hubler.
Just quick question. You keep saying planning commission. Just
I'm sorry. Park Commission. I apologize.
No, I just want to make sure. I know you've got a lot on your plate. So.
I'm on my second 12-hour day. So
Oh, geez.
if I say Planning Commission, I mean Park Commission. I apologize. So we will do the call to order. I'll have Debbie do that. After the call to order, I think we'll do the roll call. Okay, sorry. I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 6:05. I'm gonna have Debbie do the roll call. We're going to do the roll call a little different. After Debbie calls everybody out, I'm going to have all the new park commissioners introduce themselves because we have 3 new park commissioners and we have 3 current park commissioners online. So just if everybody could introduce themselves. I know it's a little awkward doing it online, but at least to get to know each other, and then I'll do the election of chair, and then whoever the chair is, I will turn that over. So Debbie, if you want to do the roll call, that would be great.
Commissioner Monroy?
Here.
Commissioner Hubler?
Here.
Commissioner Seeberger?
Present.
Commissioner Howard is absent at this time. Commissioner Hoover? Commissioner Hoover?
Here.
Commissioner Odd?
They don't know if you hear that, but she is here.
Okay. Commissioner Mestis?
Mastis right here.
Thank you. And then city staff, Jason Sullivan, Planning and Building Supervisor.
Here.
Associate Planner, Mehdi Brazel.
She's having computer issues and trying to get logged back in.
Yeah. And then Debbie McDonald, Planning Park Commission Clerk here.
Okay, so I'm just going to go down the line. So Pablo, if you want to introduce yourself, we'll kind of start there, and then we'll just kind of move into the election after that.
Paul Monroy, chair the last couple of years, been on the Park Commission for, I can't even know how long, was going on 7 years. And yeah, that's who I am. Vice Chair Huber.
I'm Carrie Huber. I have been on the Parks Commission for 2 years. I actually started right before COVID, so we haven't really got a fair, 2 years in there. So.
And Carrie is also on our planning commission as well. So she's helping to make the link between the two commissions. Commissioner Seberg.
Ryan Seberger, been on the planning commission, I think 5 years. It's been a while, yes. I think somewhere around there. Excited for change.
Commissioner Hoover.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Diane Hoover, and I've been in Bonney Lake almost a year now, and I decided that I wanted to get involved in the community. I come from a park background. I've been Parks and Recreation Director for the city of Bakersfield for the last 15 years in Bakersfield, California. And before that, I was Park and Recreation Director for several cities in Ohio and the Midwest. And I am past president of the National Recreation and Park Association and past president of the Academy of Park and Recreation Administration. So I have a lot of experience in parks, and I wanted to bring it to Bonney Lake, if that's okay.
So our expert is on the commission. Commissioner Odd.
My name is Todd, and I was born and raised in Ording. My was on the Parks Commission down there. Stuffed many a daffodil in a are really active in the community situation where I can now be excited to start.
Commissioner Mestis.
Hi, my name is Marisa Mastis, and I am literally new to all of this planning, parks, all of that stuff. I've been wanting to dive into it for quite some time, but life has kept me pretty busy and stuff like that. And now I'm trying to steer closer to doing what I think I would be beneficial at. And I feel would be a really good starting point for me. I love the parks department. I love parks. I love I've always been volunteering for parks cleanups and stuff like that. And I'd like to take it further. That's why I'm here.
So with that, I'm going to see if there's any nominations for the chair, and then I will turn it over to the rightfully elected chair. So is there any nominations for chair? Ms. Hubler.
I would like to elect Pablo as chair because we haven't really gotten a chance to actually do anything with our commission in the last 2 years. And I think it's only fair that he finally gets a chance to lead and show us what his true abilities are within the Parks Commission. He has a serious passion for the parks. So I think it's due diligence and it's time for him to actually do something.
Is there any other nominations? Seeing none, Pablo, as there are no other nominations. Oh,
We need a second.
is there a second?
I'll second that. No problem.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Sure,
Chair Pablo, I will turn it back over to you, and it is now your meeting to run.
All right. Well, I accept the nomination, and thank you for letting me on that. But yeah, so now next would be the election of our vice chair. Is there any nominations on the floor for vice chair? I will nominate Commissioner Hubler for the vice chair. Are there any other nominations?
Could you repeat that? I'm having trouble with my audio, I think.
Yeah, I think it's because everyone's audio is on. Yeah, so I nominate Commissioner Hubler for vice chair. Is there any other nominations on the floor? All right, seeing none. Commissioner Hubler, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
All right. Well, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All
You
right,
need a
seeing none.
second.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who
I'll need a
seconded it?
Oh yeah, need a second motion to nominate Commissioner Hubler.
I'll second.
All right.
Thank you,
for that.
Marissa.
All right. So all in favor say aye.
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 All right. Well, that's it. So Commissioner Hubler is the vice chair. All right. Moving on, we do the call to order election of vice chair. Roll call. Approval of minutes. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
I did.
Anything that stuck out to anybody?
It's been so long.
Yeah. September 2015. All right.
Carrie, you're muted.
Sorry, I forget that I mute myself. So down at the bottom where it says adjournment, the only thing I did see, it says motion was made by Vice Chair Hubler and seconded by Chair Seeberger to adjourn. So that should just be Commissioner.
Yeah. Yes, I saw that too. Thank you.
I think anything else?
All right. Any other corrections to the last meeting minutes? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve the
Do I have a
minute.
second?
I'll
Do I have a
second.
second? All right. Being moved, motion is second. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to public comment and concerns. Do we have any comments from the public or any concerns? All right. Seeing none.
Oh, wait, hold on. Debbie,
Okay, so we had 9 comments come in. 3 of them came in this afternoon, with 1 of them requesting to be read into the minutes. So you all should have a copy of the comments. The 6 were in your packet, and then, like I said, 3 were just sent out this afternoon. So the one that requested to be read into the record is the one I'm reading right now. It states, February 16th, 2022, dear council members. I am submitting this letter to recommend the Bonney Lake Community Gardens be named Bowen Gardens of Bonney Lake. Please read my explanation as to why I chose this name. Since migrating from Colorado to Bonney Lake in the mid-1930s, Bowen family has been an important part of the history of Bonney Lake. Jess was the first Bowen to hike the Bonney Lake Plateau. Loving what he saw, he went back to Colorado and convinced his brother, Oscar, aka Doc, and his wife, Golda, to move from the mountains of Colorado to the beautiful foothills of Mount Rainier. Not long after Doc began building on Myers Road, he recognized the need for a church on the plateau. He convinced Reverend R.L. Tanner to move from Colorado to Bonney Lake to officiate at the First Church of Nazarene in Bonney Lake. At first, services were held in Doc and Golda's home Soon, they began to outgrow the tiny space and services were expanded to the out of doors while Doc built a new church with lumber he had originally purchased to finish his own home. Committed to offering children to the teaching of the gospel, Doc drove around Bonney Lake on Sundays, gathering children in his truck to bring them to Sunday school. Doc's nephew and niece, Sue and Julia Bowen, carried on the giving tradition of enhancing the community with the creation of the Bread of Life Food Bank and the Bonney Lake Community Garden. From the beginning, in addition to hours of labor, Julia donated lumber, topsoil, and other necessities to make beautiful plant beds. To help maintain the community beds, Julia donated many gardening tools stored in a shed at the garden. Then she and her son Jeremy created an inviting area for community gardeners to relax in after toiling in their gardens, including donating patio furniture. Half of the land donated for the community garden was meant for growing produce for the Bonney Lake Bread of Life Food Bank clients. For years, Julia volunteered many hours planting, maintaining, and harvesting the crops from this share of the community garden. This despite holding down a full-time job as a Pierce Transit driver at the same time. Since the mid-1930s, in addition to a church, a food bank, and a community garden, the large Bowen family has also contributed to the economic success of Bonney Lake community while owning and operating a variety of businesses, including 2 gas stations, a grocery store, an auto wrecking business, a vehicle dealership, a landscaping supply business, and a florist shop. There may be more. This is just off the top of my head. Many people in Bonney Lake have benefited and continue to benefit from the dedication and generosity of the large Bowen family. To name the Bonney Lake Community Garden Bowen Gardens of Bonney Lake will maintain the community identity of the gardens while honoring the many contributions of the Bowen family. Thank you for your consideration of this recommendation. Respectfully, Sue Brenston.
All right.
Okay. Well, do we have any other comments or concerns? I'm wondering, like, would that be under correspondence later?
Pablo, we put it under here because we're going to be discussing the park naming before we get the correspondence. So we opted to put it in as a public comment section at the beginning.
Sounds great. All right. Is there any other public comments or concerns? Seeing none,
That's it.
Say again, Debbie? Okay. What about I'm assuming this is Park Commission report?
No, it is actually the Planning Commission report. So one of the things that we are going to try to do is to provide a better coordination between our Planning Commission, which is kind of the primary commission that makes most of the recommendations and does public hearings on most long-range planning efforts, and increase the coordination between the Design Commission and the Planning Commission and the Park Commission and the Planning Commission. So we have now got representatives from all 3 commissions serving on the Planning Commission. Carrie, I don't know if you were at the joint meeting. If not, I can take the report. But the idea would be that the Vice Chair Hubler would kind of update the Park Commission on what's going on with the Planning Commission.
I will let you take that one, Jason, because that was the one that I did miss.
So the last Planning Commission was a joint meeting with the City Council. They are required by the municipal code to have a joint meeting with the City Council. The 2 big items that were discussed was the Planning Commission's work plan. The Planning Commission is required to have a written 2-year work plan to guide their efforts. I can get the whole work plan to the Parks Commission if they would like. We're making some amendments to the existing work plan because it went from 21 through 22. I think the biggest item on there that relates to Parks Commission is we put on there the adoption of a new parks, trails, and open space plan. I know that is a fundamental call for the Parks Commission, but it's also part of the comprehensive plan. So the Planning Commission is the one that will ultimately end up hearing the public hearings on that. So the Parks Commission will be intimately involved, and we've already been talking about the need to form an ad hoc committee that's made up of a few Parks Commissioners and a few Planning Commissioners to work on that as a joint group. once we kind of get that into place. So the first step is, now that it's on the work plan, is I need to prepare an RFP, get that out, get a consultant on board, get a consultant selected, get contracts in place, and then we'll begin that process. And it will be a very in-depth process involving all the parks commissioners, the city council, the public, open house meetings. So I'm hoping we'll be back to being able to do those with COVID ending. Also the recreational program here from the city will be involved. So there's going to be a lot of different groups that are going to get into that thing. As Commissioner Hoover knows, putting together new parks and trails and open space plan is a very heavy lift. Lots of people have interest in it. So that more to come on that one. And then the other item was we adopted the growth targets for the city for 2044, which will establish kind of our planning population growth numbers when we do our comprehensive plan update. And of course, items will be brought to the Parks Commission through that process as well. So in the future, I'm hoping Vice Chair Kubler will be doing these reports, but I really want to start linking up these two groups because there's such an overlap between the areas of responsibility and between the two. So with that, that's all I have left.
Great relationship with other commissions. All right, going on to the next section, continuing old business, Midtown Park naming.
I'm going to turn this over to Mitty Brazel. A quick introduction. She is our new associate planner. She came in November. She's been helping me frantically get things back up and running when I went down to a staff of one. So with that, Mitty, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can share your screen, so I know you have a little bit PowerPoint. So Mitty is in control, and she'll walk you through this part of the project.
Hi, everyone. Like Jason said, I have been tasked with the park naming project, excitedly. I'm very excited about that. I'm not positive if you can see my PowerPoint.
All we have is a blue screen right now. That's all I'm seeing.
I only see blue.
That's all I've got.
Yeah, blue. I thought I could see the share screen, but not the. I thought that was the goal. All right. Nothing.
I'll run over Mitty and see if I can help you out with IT stuff.
Thank you.
I see a desktop.
Now you see my desktop. Okay. Well, we're getting somewhere. There we go.
There's a PowerPoint.
There we go. Apologies. So, starting with the Midtown Park Essay Contest. So, I was tasked to take this on. From what I gathered from Jason, this is something that the Parks Commission would like to do to name the Midtown Park. So, starting off, I designed a timeline based on Jason stated that the Parks Commission would have liked to have the naming reveal done at Bonney Lake Days. Unfortunately, after talking to our Parks and Recs coordinator, Bonney Lake Days is not happening this year. So we alternatively decided for Tunes for Taps. And the last Tunes for Taps is August 31st. So from working back from that, we hope to get this kicked off March 1st, depending on whether or not the motion is agreed upon. So I would start off with advertising and final coordination of the project, which final coordination would include setting up the seamless dock that we would have the essay contest winners or the essay contest participants submit to. Then also within this time frame, I'd be setting up a review team based on Parks Commissioners and the Bonney Lake Historical Society, and then maybe some of the public services employees as well. They would take on reviewing all of these essays. And if you look at the next part of the timeline, Intake would be from March 1st to June 30th, so the essay contest would close June 30th. I put subgroups in there because any essay that we would get from March 1st to April 1st, the review team would review, and then about a week after the review, round one at close, we would get together and kind of discuss what essays have come in based on the essay rubric that I believe was in your packet. After all of the review rounds are completed, we would have a final essay review round with all of the top essays that we have found throughout the rounds, and then kind of whittle it down to 3 finalists. Obviously, we would know who would be the winner at that point. And then we would notify the finalists to possibly come to Tunes for Taps because they're one of the top finalists. And then the winner would be named at Tunes for Taps. Any questions or comments on the timeline?
Yep. So we're taking in essays all the way till June 30th, or we're just doing it for that month?
From March 1st to June 30th, we'll be taking in essays. Mainly, I thought this would be good because a lot of homeschool groups and then a lot of schools could use it as an assignment for their students to, look up the history of Bonney Lake. And I would like to coordinate with the Historical Society to see if they would be willing to go out to classrooms and kind of give a background history of Bonney Lake if the teacher requests it, so that they can kind of get an idea as to what they would like to see the park named as.
Okay.
So it gives it a sufficient amount of time to actually have teachers and homeschools to collaborate and get that assigned and reviewed.
Okay, I guess research time. Yeah, because 4 months seems like a long time, but I guess
Yeah.
all that in consideration, that makes a little bit of sense.
All
So,
right.
as far as the notifying the finalists, you said that they probably go to Tunes for Taps would they just kind of discuss on the reasons why to the public at that point, or would we decide at during when they're talking?
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you mean by?
Well, like you said, probably notify the finalists and go to Tunes at Taps, have them all come together at the end of Tunes at Taps.
Yeah, so we would notify the finalists basically stating, hey, you're a finalist in the park naming project. The winner will be revealed Tunes for Taps August 31st, and you're more than welcome to come join us. So, yeah.
I know it'd be predetermined on what the name is at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would know ahead of time. Yeah, we would know who would be the winner. If you wanted just the winner to be notified that they're a finalist, so that we're not calling people who weren't finalists, we could do that as well.
I mean, it'd be great for to get some names out there because there's going to be a lot of trails and stuff coming up, and we're looking at some of the parks or other areas. I mean,
exactly.
People should know hey, there's other options because there's other parks. That'd be a great advertisement for that.
Exactly. All right. If there's no further questions with the timeline, we'll move on to the review process. Like I previously said, I'll be setting up a seamless doc so that participants can submit their essays online, the City of Bonney Lake website. And this will all be outlined in the flyer that I believe was in your packet as well. It'll be sent to all of the principals and all of the homeschool groups that I have coordinated with thus far. It'll be sent to senior centers, the Bonney Lake Senior Center, and then also I've been corresponding with the Bone Adventure as well to get them going on that as well. So we're trying to reach out to many different groups here. Um, so once the essays will come in, each essay will be designated a number so that nobody is seeing the name or age or anything having to do with the actual person. We're just basing our critique on specifically the essay. Review meetings will be established generally a week after the review round is complete, and that's when the review group will get together and review the essays thus far. I felt like this would be a waste to not get to the end and have to review all of the essays. It kind of makes people read them throughout and kind of sit on them, feel it out, because naming a park is a big thing. It is. So you've got to really kind of mull it over. So that's why I did kind of the review rounds. The reviews will be reviewed per the essay rubric that I provided. And actually we'll move on to that. I know you guys had this packet previously, and I was wondering if you had any questions or concerns about what is in the essay rubric.
No.
So my only thing with it is it's amazing. Millie, I love it. The only thing that my concern is if we base everything off this rubric, we're going to eliminate a lot of elementary school kids because they're not going to be able to do the things that a high schooler or an adult would be able to write yet. So I just want to make sure that we're very clear that this isn't the way that we're going to follow 100% in way we're going to choose a name. I want to make sure that those little kids get just as much of a say and input as the big kids and anybody else that puts stuff in.
For sure. And I can tweak this for sure. Like it not set in stone.
Yeah, that's kind of my concern as well, just because I kind of was we're thinking about when I was thinking about the naming issue, something that relates to the community. If someone's not well written on that, well versed, elderly people that are, going through some dementia but know some historical significance, things like that. That I want to give them a fair shake as well. For high schoolers, if they're doing this as a project, they're gonna be graded anyways, based on how well it's written and things like that. Same with elementary and middle school kids. Um, that's something that them and their teachers can possibly deal with. I mean, for me, it's mainly my big concern is how much it means to the community, how much it means to the person writing it.
Okay.
But I still think I like the idea of the different percentages that you've really put the most emphasis on the details of why they want to name it that way. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing, even if it's coming from a kid or any size, any age. I guess my bigger concern is that we are publicizing this, I guess, to the whole entire community, no matter age or anything. And I'm not sure that's going to be easy to judge or to grade or to evaluate at any rate. I mean, maybe we have an evaluation for elementary and maybe for high school and maybe for adults or families. A whole family can get together and put an application in for a naming. I just think that you're going to run into more problems than you can imagine at this point. I'm serious. You really can.
Well, Commissioner Hoover, just for some background, it was targeted originally to the local high school, elementary school, but we realized we needed to expand that. So I just but that would, kind of knew that was going to open up a big Pandora's box on that aspect of it. Now I'm kind of wondering, if we're reaching out to schools and senior centers, are we going to reach out to faith-based communities as well, the churches in the area?
Yeah, I've been in contact with a few of the Christian schools around here as well. Um, but I can also do churches as well.
And on the naming contest flyer, I guess we'll see. Is there any way to kind of put the rubric or anything? Because I think people just kind of go at it and name it, something that's outside of what we actually can name it.
So what is going to be on the seamless doc? It's going to have all of the rules, the essay rubric. It's going to also have, I believe in your packet, the terms and conditions, liability, of course.
That's the
And so,
details.
yeah, and that's being sent out to all of the people on the applicant list. So.
All right. And I have one more question. I just spaced. I'll get back to you on the question I had.
No problem.
I have a question. Commissioner Hoover, have you ever done anything like this before in your?
Yes, I did, and it was a mess. And when you finally announce the winner, you will get an equal number of complaints and concerns and how dare you and why did you and gee whiz, how did you select? It's just it's a mess. But I think the positive actually will outweigh the negative. You've really kind of thought this through as best you can, and it will bring more recognition, I guess, to the whole park system and the needs that the park system has at this time. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just be ready for you will get the worst names you can possibly think of at this time, and then the absolute best names. So just be ready for negative comments and positive comments both. I'm warning you. I'm not threatening you. I'm just saying.
No,
It's a
you
mess.
have experience, so anything to help us go forward, I think is
Yeah.
great.
And I think that
insight,
if we can if we can narrow down the criteria for judging a little bit tighter, then the the complaints coming in when you do select it won't be as bad. And it is important that they understand the naming policy for the city. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's included in the essay rubric. And basically, it does say, does this meet, the naming criteria laid out in 12.10.020.
Perfect. Yeah, I see that.
And
yeah, sorry.
oh no, you're fine. And so it's kind of, if it doesn't really meet this, then the essay doesn't really meet the criteria. So it wouldn't necessarily be a yes for the park naming. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And on the selections are going to be I guess the commission that's going to be kind of reviewing it, and that's to be determined still. Parks and the Historical Society together. Would it be?
Yeah, yes. So I was thinking a few park commissioners, a few historical society members, and then maybe a few public service employees. I'm thinking about 3 of each.
Awesome. Is there a way to capture, like, let's say there's an overwhelming submission for one? Is there a way to capture, like, hey, a lot of people wanted it to be named Whitney Houston Park, for example, and there was a majority of people wanted that Whitney Houston to be memorized in this park for some reason. Is there a way to capture, like, hey, this one-off was really good essay and works really well, but this one had overwhelming support? I mean, I don't know if that should weigh into the decision, but is there going to be a way to capture it all?
Go ahead.
The popularity contest. This isn't about the votes, is what's going. It's going to be about about the meaning, and it's going to be to expression reviewing it. So There, from what I'm seeing on.
Hey, Tracy, you might want to get a little closer to your mic. You're cutting in and out. We're getting about kind of every other word. I apologize.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just saying that it's not a popularity contest from what I'm seeing on the rules.
Yes.
This has something to do with substance history. It has to do with the weight that you want to give the park's name. And so you're giving it certain criteria. And if the rules substantiate the naming rules, then there should be no issue, because you're going to fall back when you're coming across those people who have a negative type comment. You'd be referring back to the rules and what the rules pertain.
Yep, I agree with that. I was just curious if that would that was going to be taken into consideration at all. But if it's not, I like that. You know, it shouldn't be a popularity contest.
Pablo, on this announcement with the city, it has bullet points that identify what is acceptable.
Yeah.
So
I found that on the
neighborhood,
city.
geographical features, Bonney Lake historical. So
Yeah.
there's a bullet points to follow.
Yeah, I saw that on
And
there too.
also, that's kind of why I'm working with the Historical Society to try to, if a teacher requested it, they could come in and kind of give a history lesson of Bonney Lake, and that might spur some ideas for kids or homeschoolers.
Is there any way to maybe get the library involved and have like something set up at the library so that anybody can come in and maybe have like a corner or something like that dedicated to just the history of Bonney Lake?
I've reached out to the library. I haven't heard back from them, but that's a great idea, and definitely we'll try to coordinate something like that.
Even a Bonney Lake night or Bonney Lake historical night there, or I don't know how much they're dealing with the public because of all the COVID stuff, but I mean, it's worth a shot, I guess.
Does the Historical Society have a web page?
I don't believe they do. They have a Facebook page that they actively use, but I don't believe that they have an actual web page.
I just was thinking that might, anybody who has computer access would be able to, be able to reach that information.
And I have one other quick question. Are we going to acknowledge any of the finalists or anything, or offer any type of prize? Like maybe, since it's behind the movie theater, maybe movie tickets, or I don't know. So I don't know. I'm just asking if we've thought about that.
Maybe even like a letter of appreciation from the mayor.
Yeah, I don't think there's any prize at the end of this other than you get to say you named the park.
Okay.
Could we ask the mayor or something, or the council to write like a letter of appreciation for the finalists, or?
Yeah, I'm sure we can do something, kind of with that type of level. Sorry, Mitty, for jumping in. With that type of with that type of recognition, maybe kind of not only at tunes or taps, but a letter or a resolution, because it would be the resolution officially proclaiming the park, and maybe they get a copy of that really nice signed or something. So we'll have to figure that kind of recognition part on the end. So one more thing to add to our to-do list.
Well, I think it's a really well thought out naming process. I know we've been talking about this for at least 5 years about naming this. So I thank to the city staff for working on this, and it looks so great in this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cut it down a lot.
One last thing. Are all the essays considered public information?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's actually in the terms and agreements, I believe. I had our legal consultant look through it, and she approved what was in there. So
Yeah, and And that opens a whole nother can of worms. So just so you know.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh.
There's a release and certification of liability and use of information section and grant of rights. So they've kind of got it all covered.
I do have one question. Are there any parks commissioners that want to be? I mean, if everyone raises their hands, Benny and I'll have to circle back. But are there any parks commissioners that are wanting to be on this? I would hope Commissioner Hoover would volunteer because of her extensive knowledge in doing this in the past. But I will leave that to the group. But if there are, parks commissioners that are already wanting to be on this review panel, kind of let Benny know. And if everybody does, we'll have to circle back and figure that out. But I'll turn that back over to you guys.
That's actually something I was just going to comment on is because it's really been part of the Parks Commission's, it's something that we've wanted to do and we've been trying to push forward. I honestly would suggest that that all Parks Commissioners have a spot to be able to be there and be part of this, because it's hard to say only 3 out of the 7 could be there when you've got 7 of us that are all heart and soul into what we're doing. And then, yes, I love the idea of having a handful of the historical society, because they know our history, they know where we've been, and they can guide us in things. If somebody writes something that's incorrect, they can help us in making sure that things are done right. And then the city personnel that you had talked about, Mehdi, I think that's great. But I think really having the ability for the entire Parks Commission to be there would be my hope, and not limit it with us, at least.
Okay.
More hands make light work.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. But I mean, this is really, really awesome. I'm really just warms my heart to see this going. After all these years of trying to do this plus COVID and all that. So I mean, it's incredible. I'm really happy. Is there anything else about the Midtown Park naming?
One thing I would say is if you want to get started with this kind of general approach that we've got, you'd want to pass that motion. One thing you'll find for me is I'm a very motion-driven person because that at least allows us to understand clearly what the direction from the Park Commission was. That motion's on page 12 of your packet.
All right. So I move to recommend that the city staff move forward with the Midtown Park naming essay contest as proposed February 16th, 2022 Park Commission agenda item. Do I have a second?
I second.
Wait, can I self-motion? I think parliamentary procedures. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
And Mark, Mitty, and I'll get together, but we'll make sure that all the park commissioners are able to review essays and get in that. Maybe we'll screen the ones out that don't apply. Like, I want to name it Santa Claus Park. We could just kind of put that one off to the side and not send it. So we'll figure the process out, but we'll make sure that all the parks commissioners are able to weigh in on this.
All right. So now that Mr. Sullivan shut down my my idea for the park.
Sorry, Pablo.
All right, so that was moved and approved. Coming on next to the Park Commission bylaws, which I know Ms. Sullivan's been working really hard on, and I'm excited about this.
Yep. So quickly, one of the things that the code does allow is for the Parks Commission to establish its kind of own written procedures, how it's going to operate. And the Parks Commission hasn't had that in the past. And I think it's led to some frustrations from Parks Commissioners, not kind of understanding how things operate, what the Parks Commission role is, how the coordination between the City Council and the city staff occur. And so that's why we wanted to have some bylaws. They basically rely on what's already provided for in the municipal code. We've talked about that. Kind of what your kind of direction is in the municipal code, what you have governing, not governing authority over, but things that should come to you as a body to make recommendations back. It's important to note that the Parks Commission recommendations are not binding. We've had this kind of discussion with the Planning Commission. Grant always has that with new planning commissioners, it's a recommendation. The city council should, or the staff should consider that recommendation, but they could go in an opposite direction. I've seen it happen once or twice with the Planning Commission, so I always just mention that the recommendations that come out of commissions are that recommendations. We hope that they're well thought, and the powers that be follow those recommendations, but the council has the ability to kind of go and do a 180. The big part of the Parks Commission bylaws is a change to the meeting dates and time. With the way that staff is realigned, I am the primary staff point of contact for the Parks Commission, Planning Commission, and Design Commission. My staff member who does most of the works for those three commissions is Medi. And then Debbie, who is also the clerk for those three commissions plus the Arts Commission. And so to make things kind of work with council and kind of keep things streamlined, we're moving all of the commission meetings to Wednesday nights. And so the Planning Commission will be the first Wednesday, Design Commission would be the second, Park Commission would be the third, Art Commission would be the fourth. Currently, all commissions meet on Wednesday night except for the park, so you would be the only one that's kind of moving a date to the third Wednesday at 6 p.m. And then the other change that will happen eventually is that the city is building a new public services center that will house the department, which is now spread out in multiple buildings. As part of that, we're building our own meeting space out there that will have the same full setup for audiovisual that the council chamber has. So once we get back to meeting in person and that building's finalized in the next probably 90 days, all of our meetings will move out to the new public services center, which is why that's mentioned in the bylaws and not the Justice and Municipal Center. So that will help kind of get us out, and that's where the parks crews are at. That's where I'm at. That's where pretty much all of the governmental organization that deals with parks, except for the rec program, are going to be located. So, I mean, if there's specific questions regarding the bylaws, I can do that. It does provide what the basically it just provides when your meetings are, what your mission is, which is basically just taking it right out of the code. The powers and duties are those that are defined in title or chapter 220. I can go over those if anybody wants, but basically the Parks Commission should be providing recommendations on anything that affects parks, from both contracts, consultants, park plans, park rules, anything that deals with the parks. The Park Commission should be considering those items and making recommendations. And I've been working with city staff to make sure that they understand that, like when there's a new contract or issue with a park or a change in a park rule, that those should be coming to the Park Commission. Plus, you're the Urban Forestry Tree Board, and I think over time that's going to have more traction as we get that program up and running. Election of chairs and vice chair, we've already talked about that. It has the duties of the president, or the chair and the vice chair. The recording secretary clerk is Debbie. Kind of attendance, what a quorum is, how we vote, and an order of business, how we deal with public comments, when we get back into person, how people can speak at the podium and shouldn't throw tantrums. We don't use Robert Rules of Orders for our parliamentary procedures if we ever get to that point where we have to delve into those. We use the Standard Code of Parliamentary Procedures, Sturgis. That's the one that's been adopted by the City Council and all commissions, so that's the one that we use as a city. And then kind of the documents that you as a park commissioner should be familiar with. So if there's any concerns or questions, I can answer them. But basically, this is just kind of adopting how the Park Commission will operate and consider business going forward.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I was going to ask about the recording secretary clerk, just something we added to it, that it's city staff member on that, because it sounds like the way I read it is another officer to elect within the commission. And outside of that, as far as the all park commissioners must become familiar with the documents, I'm wondering if at some point could you get a copy of all that, just so everyone has it, just emailed to us or sent to us. That way, people have it in hand.
Yeah, I can email out a link tomorrow that has links to all of those items.
Perfect. Just so everyone for sure has it, and read at your leisure.
And we can, if the park commission would move forward in adopting this tonight, before we finalize it, we will add something on the clerk, in one of those paragraphs that basically it's a city staff member that serves as the clerk.
All right. Is there any questions to the commission bylaws? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the commission bylaws?
I will motion to approve the commission bylaws.
Can I get a second?
I saw. Oh,
I'll second. I'm sorry.
All right. We got it's been moved and seconded. Is all in favor? Say aye.
I
All right. All opposed? None.
so bring out your calendars right now so that everybody knows this. Your next meeting then will be March 16th at 6 p.m.
Day before St. Patty's Day. All right.
I can tell you, I know I will be on an airplane. Sorry.
No, it happens.
We're just coming back. We're going to the NASCAR race down in Arizona. So we're just coming back that night. I'll make sure. I might be able to hop on via Blue Jeans possibly at the airport. I have to check and make sure what time my flight is.
Okay. So if you want to go through your calendars for the rest of the year, just go to the third Wednesday of every month and write Park Commission 6 p.m. Because now we have a standardized meeting date, and that's just what we'll follow, which means the packets will come to you the Friday before that meeting. So you also have more time to review them.
Yeah. In December is going to be the week before Christmas Eve. Is that going to be a problem with the city staff at all?
We'll probably end up canceling that meeting in December. Pablo, we can talk about that one in November when we get to that point.
Sounds great. That's I like everything else about that. Sounds great. And it's been moved and passed, so is ready to move on to new business. Naming of the community garden. I see there's a couple different options there. That's gonna be fun.
Yes. So this, I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then I'm going to turn it over to the Park Commission for their discussion and kind of what they want their next steps to be, and we'll kind of go from there. So at the end of last year, we did receive a request from Councilmember Evans to have a presentation presented to the Parks Commission to rename the community gardens to the Bonney Lake, the Greg Peters Memorial Community Garden. Under the naming procedures, there isn't a need to do the essay contest. That's just something we're doing for fun. It just has to meet one of those requirements. The council will make the ultimate decision, but it has to have a recommendation from the Parks Commission. We have attached kind of the initial email that we received from Councilmember Evans with all of the information for the request. Any letters of support that we received have come in through the public comment period. There's the one alternate. So at this point, it's really up to the Park Commission and how they want to do this. If they want to talk about it tonight and we can bring it back for further discussion or further information at our March meeting, it's really open to a discussion. I'm kind of trying to take as much neutral stance as I can. So relying on the written documents versus more kind of a presentation, because I really want to turn that over to the Parks Commission for their discussion. So with that, Pablo, I'll turn it back over to you as a chair to kind of have whatever discussion, provide us whatever direction that you would like us to do. If you want to have people come back and give you presentations on those competing interests, whatever the Parks Commission wants at this point, there's really not a outline procedure other than you have to provide a recommendation to the City Council.
Yeah, and I was thinking there's two different. I mean, we're submitted with one from the council, plus the Bowen family has submitted one, so there are like competing names, which this is just the first step of trying to rename something, right? Having multiple options. I think a presentation would possibly be best, but we do have, they already wrote down in, really great ways on why each name matters. This is a tough one. Fellow commissioners, what do you have to say?
Um, I mean, I honestly learning the Bound one. I did not know that family had such a tie to the community, which I thought was really cool to learn. I know that is a past part of Bonney Lake, but knowing Greg Peters and his extensive years of involvement at the community garden, I also can see where that is a really important part of our present and future at the same time, because I know the Bound family built a legacy there of starting the garden. And I know Greg did so much work over there over the several years that it really became his heart and soul there. He made sure it was maintained. He's always around. He's always part of whatever they're doing there. So I can see where naming it after him would also be a huge benefit to the city. Not just looking at the past of who started something, but also who's been the heart and soul of that project for the past many years. I don't know exactly how many years he's been part of it. I would love to learn that, but I know he's been there for a long time, and he's also been part of our Beautify Bonney Lake for many years. He's always there he's always at the community garden, helping to make sure it's cleaned up and maintained and taken care of. He leads a team there every year. He actually, he took on the high school football team there and really brought them to enjoy being part of that community garden. So I think having his commitment to it in the more recent years does benefit with his name.
One of the emails says devoted 11 years to this garden, first joined in 2010, and he was on part of the community gardens lead board as well.
I did not read that one. I read the other ones, but I was like, there's a lot of them. Which was great to see so many people recommend him and think so highly of him. And yeah, his sudden passing was very sad. So I with his love for that. So I hope that somebody else picks up his spot and takes it on. But yeah, I think that would be a wonderful name to have there as well. But I don't know how we proceed and what we should do.
Yep.
Can I say something?
Yes, Commissioner McCain?
Is there any way to make it like a memorial garden, and then maybe you could have like certain parts of it be dedicated to Greg Peters, and then maybe have another part of it dedicated to the Bowen family? Is there any way to maybe collaborate both of them as where it came from, and I don't know, maybe even in the future there, if it ever expands?
Marissa, we're losing you.
Sorry about that. Somebody tried to call me.
Oh, that's okay.
Are you there? Sorry. But I can't imagine that it's going to stay the same size forever. So if it could be, and I can't imagine that everybody that works on it is going to live forever. So if there was a way to maybe make it a memorial garden, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
I've got a question for Jason. As part of the planning going forward in the past, is that area part of the city expansion downtown area? And would the gardens need to be moved?
That's what I was raising my hand. That's a distinct possibility. There is no, at this time the gardens may be completely relocated to a different location because that area is part of the downtown civic campus master plan, which hasn't been adopted. I will say that in none of the plans that have been developed over the decades of talking about what to do with that area has a community garden been included. Not to say it can't, but the likelihood of it staying in that exact location, I don't know how likely that would be because even if a community garden were to stay in downtown, in order to do the master plan and regrade and put all the roads in and do all the site development, you would probably have to move things around. So that is a possibility. When that will occur, I don't know. The part doing a new updated master plan is on the Planning Commission's work plan to provide recommendations. But we have to get an RFP with council and get a consultant and figure out what the council wants to do with that. So the answer is it hasn't been shown in any of the plans. Doesn't mean it can't be added. Will likely have to be, even if it stays in downtown, redone. Probably a high likelihood. It is operating under a temporary kind of use type permit at this point.
So, Jason, tell me again how this got started. Just a letter out of the blue after Mr. Peters passed away. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner Hoover. We received an email from one of our council members requesting that the Parks Commission, because the council can't take a motion on naming the park unless there's a recommendation from the Parks Commission. The code says it shall be the Parks Commission shall make a recommendation. So the council member's first step was to get this in front of the Parks Commission. The Parks Commission has can recommend that no action be taken, recommend that no name be made, recommend it be split. I mean, that's up to kind of the Parks Commission to make that recommendation. I was just pulling up the code real quick so I could verify one thing in there.
If I can make a comment, is there a way to make a comment? My fear is if you name it and then it has to get taken out, you might be asking for trouble.
Definitely.
That's my concern.
What do you mean?
I'm like, if you were to name it is it Greg Peters Memorial Garden or whatever, and then it was taken out with no place for the garden to go, would the family how would the family handle that?
That's definitely something to consider. That's a very important question as well. I mean, I guess the assumption is, could a name perpetually be, for the community garden, be a name, or would it have to be renamed when it goes? Is there a way to make it like, hey, this will stick with it?
I think that all comes in how the ordinance resolution that actually does the naming gets developed. Because what the code says, it basically says the council shall designate the names for public parks and recreation facilities. The council can't take any action until there's a written recommendation from the Bonney Lakes Park Board. And you have to show that it meets the criteria. So it's a pretty open process, and I think it was intended to be that way because these things are not cookie cutter, A, B, and C type things. So I think that's part of the Planning Commission or Parks Commission's discussion of how do you deal with the kind of possibly transient nature of it.
Advice from Kubler?
So I guess with Commissioner Odd, what you're talking about, and then Commissioner Mastis. Sorry. I'm terrible with names in pronouncing things, so it'll take me a few times. But I think both of you have, I mean, amazing ideas there in helping us to kind of think through this. Um, Marissa, I think your idea of the making it a memorial garden name, I think that would really help to help you cover more basis there. And then sections of it be named after certain individuals. And maybe we can leave certain sections open for later naming. And then Commissioner Odd, I totally get where you're coming from on the the possibility if it has to be moved. Maybe we can write it up as something as the name will remain in effect until the garden is, no longer there, or the Parks Commission chooses to rename a section after another person that could be a big figure or somebody that means, something very special to that garden or to the area. So maybe we can just kind of tie it all together and make sure that people know this is, if the park or if the garden moves and it no longer is in existence, then we know that name is gone. But if it moves and we are able to, actually move it to a new location, that we would continue that name until the Parks Commission makes a recommendation to change it.
So I'm gonna bring up my screen just so I'm trying to understand kind of what the Parks Commission. I actually have a map of the community garden. It was in your packet. I'm just gonna bring that up on the screen. So you should be seeing my screen now. So this is the community garden kind of boundaries as it sits today. So what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the community garden be named Bonney Lake Community Memorial Garden, and then either rows or portions or beds could be possibly identified for individuals kind of as an ancillary naming of a feature. Is that what I'm hearing from the kind of the Parks Commission?
Yeah, my only concern is the can of worms that will open with everyone wanting to put their person's memorial in. On top of which, would it lessen it for what they wanted? And it kind of doesn't sound like the Bowen family really wants a memorial garden. They kind of be recognized for it. So memorial garden, I think, would be kind of outside of what the ask was on their side. Honestly, I kind of like, this is top of my head, want to defer the Bowen family to the essay contest in Midtown, or possibly renaming the art park. Since it was a significant contribution from them. The art park is kind of, again, I really hate stand-in names. It's, as many of you know, it's my biggest pet peeve. But it is closer to Myers Road than the community garden is. But yeah, it comes down to the family that started it and someone that carried it on through, in more recent days. So this is a tough one.
I mean, we can table this issue and bring it back at March because I give you guys more time to think about it. And if there's ideas that pop into your head between now and March, just let me know. We can bring those ideas forward. There isn't a timetable on making the recommendation. I know Councilman Evans would want to do it as quickly as possible, but there's not a specific timetable. But yeah, I'll leave it up to the Parks Commission how they want to proceed with it. And I think with anything, making no recommendation that it not be changed is an option. So I'm not advocating for any specific option. I'm just saying you have the option to do, yes, make it Greg Peters Memorial Garden, make it the Bowen Community Garden, or recommend that it just stay the Bonney Lake Community Garden.
Yeah, thank you. I like the idea of perhaps in the future, when we know exactly where the garden's going to be, if the garden's going to be, having some type of memorial garden. It's kind of a good idea. We did that in other cities. We had like a adopt a tree kind of thing where you could, buy a plaque in memory of a prominent citizen of the community. I mean, you had to have certain guidelines on why you were naming it, but these two sound like part of that whole reason why you would want a memorial, a public memorial of some kind. But you have to put in there that it is kind of temporary in the sense that anything could happen. I mean, it could be destroyed. It could be, who knows what. And the city should not be responsible for that. But you ask the family to actually provide the plaque or the memorial and make it that way. So that's one way. But I like the idea of having more time to think about it too. So I'm done.
I think one of the options too is maybe like a bench with a plaque on it if the family wanted to do that. That way you're keeping the name or neutral, but you're able to do, the family can actually express, family and friends can actually express their respects for Mr. Peters.
So on these two options we have, looks like we have a third one, just a memorial garden. And I think this is a great thing to mull over and table for the next meeting if everyone's okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You got some thinking to do.
All right, but just to be clear, the options are the Bowen Community Garden, the Peters Memorial Garden. Sorry, Bowen Community Garden, and then one's Peters Memorial Garden, and then just a general memorial garden. Are the three options?
Correct.
All right, with those three being the options, I guess we just narrowed it down a little bit, which is great. And let's if I get a motion to table that for the next meeting, it'll be continuing business next meeting. Do I have a motion on the commissioners?
Commissioner Pablo, Chair Pablo, 1 second. I think Commissioner Odd was trying to get your attention. I don't know. I just saw something flashing out of the side of my screen.
Top of my phone.
Oh, okay.
I motion that we table the community garden discussion until our March meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. All right, we're going to move on to for the good of the order. Is there any correspondence for the Park Commission?
I'm sorry, I didn't see who seconded that.
It was Commissioner Seaberg.
Ryan.
Who was the one that seconded the motion?
Seaberg.
Thank you.
All right. Now, for the good of the order, is there any correspondence for the Park Commission? Ms. Debbie?
Yeah, I don't believe there's any correspondence. Yeah.
All right. Any staff comments?
Just what was already stated.
The only staff comments I have is I'm kind of glad to get, well, I got a couple. One, I'm glad to get going on the Parks Commission stuff. Hopefully we're meeting back in person. We do have a number of items for the next agenda. Some of them that are kind of things we just have to get through, which is some open public meetings training and public records training. So that's going to be on your agenda. So just be prepared. Got to make sure that we have that training. It's a state requirement. Also, we're going to do a construction update for all the park projects, trails projects that are currently under construction. I should have some good pictures for the Allen York Park. I don't know if you paid attention to council lately, but the council did award the contract to build the first ball field out at Allen York Park. it's a multi-sports field, and the contractor's already been selected. I think they've already started taking down trees and starting to clearing out and demoing buildings out there. So that project's in full swing. So we'll come out with a presentation, and then I believe there might be a few more other items coming from other staff members for the park commission's consideration. And if there's any item from the park commission that they would like to see on the agenda, please let me know, and then I can work with the chair to see if it should be added to the agenda.
Chair Eubler?
So Jason, you talked earlier about the Parks Commission will be making recommendations on contracts and stuff going forward. Is that because I know this last 2 years has been a huge disaster, and I know like the city council went ahead with things and the Parks Commission was not part of any of those discussions with anything at that time. So is that something that we'll expect going forward, or will it come back to being part of the Parks Commission? And
what I can say is I am pushing as hard as I can to make sure that the things that are identified in 220 that should have Park Commission recommendations on go through the Park Commission. The language is not as mandatory as some other things. If you look at 220, what it says is the Park Commission shall act in advisory capacity to these bodies and shall offer advice or make recommendations for their consideration, and it says matters so referred for recommendation or advice may include such items. So because it doesn't have the shall, I can't guarantee it, but I am pushing it. Both Ryan and I are pushing as hard as we can to get the Park Commission to fulfill the mission that the Park Commission was set up for. I will say there's been debate on the rec stuff, because it's not listed specifically in 2, but it's listed in the general purpose. So that one is more, I don't know.
okay. And then something I know we, ended up not being able to do when I first joined the Parks Commission 2 years ago, we had been already talking about how we could help getting the community involved in some fundraising towards the cost of our parks, because a big part of the reason we don't have good parks here in Bonney Lake is we don't have the funding. For our newer parks commissioners, our funding for parks comes from when the sale of a home. We get a very small amount of money from that sale that comes into the parks budget. A lot of our money has been used on trails. Trails have been a huge ordeal the last few years, so we've lost a lot of money into that. I mean, it's going to a great cause, don't get me wrong, but it takes away from us trying to get parks up and going for people to actually be able to get out and enjoy. So we had talked about finding ways that we as a commission could help bring more money into the coffers and designate it for getting our parks built. And then if we can get parts of these parks really built and it show the community what we're doing, then we might be able to actually get the community to agree to a parks bond so that we can then finish our parks much quicker, rather than what it'll probably take right now is, probably 15 to 20 years before Midtown Park will actually be built at this moment. It's just a long process, and we don't have the funds coming in to do that. So we had come up with a bunch of fantastic ideas for fundraisers and ways to get community bricks and community plaques and community benches and things like that, where people can be part of that process in helping bring in some funds. So I would love to see us have more discussion on how we can get that stuff going again and really dive in and get the community involved in this process.
And I would say if you're interested in parks funding, I would tune into the March 1st. I think it's March 1st. One of the city council meetings, there is a discussion about parks funding options on the council as well. So, and we do get park impact fees, and that would be definitely funding. Park development would all be part of that parks master plan. I'm trying to keep getting the cart out in front of the horse. Kind of until we have a plan of what we're going to build and where we're going to build it, it's hard to fundraise because it's hard to say this is what it's for.
Yep. And that's why our parks bond has failed before, because there was no set, here's where the money's going to go and this is what we're going to build. So that's where we know Allen York has phases already. So that's what we had talked about, is how we could help fund those phases of getting Allen York Park completed, and then hope we can get the community's buy-in to do Midtown and not take us 15 years or so. And I would love to see it sooner rather than later.
Sure. We've advertised the master plan for Allen York for 5-6 years, and we're starting section 1 after 7 years, so it's
Yeah, the challenge when I took over parks, one of the challenges that Ryan and I kind of quickly learned was there's not a parks master, like a parks plan of how we're going to deal with parks at a global level. The way that it has been approached in the past was looking at these individual elements, but nothing of how this whole thing works together, what are the priorities, and understanding what the needs of the community are as a global issue. And so that's why this parks, trails, and open space plan is a critical item, because at the end of that process, what you'll have is any refinements that we want to make to the Allen York Park Master Plan that was done a couple years. We already know that the area where they proposed to put boat parking can't go there because it's a wetland. So we already know that there's going to have to be one change because we have to figure out where we're going to put boat parking, boat trailer parking, kind of what we want to see in Allen York Park, and then the cost associated with it. And as I explained to the council, there's a big difference in cost. If you want to do synthetic turf fields with bleachers and lights and backstops, that's a significantly costly item. If your parks are more, you have maybe one or two of those, but they're primarily splash parks, open space, informal fields, trails, and native areas, it's a much lower cost. And where on that spectrum you fall is going to drive what your costs are going to be. Because we also have to look at the maintenance cost of those things. And that's a component I don't think that's been looked at in the past, too. So those are kind of all the parts of the Rubik's Cube that we're hopefully going to answer over the next year. And then we can move into that kind of next phase. We just want to be very methodical about it so we don't have this kind of stopping and going that we've had in the past.
I appreciate you and Ryan more than you can imagine, Jason, because I love the direction of being able to actually get a purpose and a drive, and just having being part of the planning commission as well, knowing what we're doing this is going to be great. I love the new people on the board or on the commission, because you guys bring a different level to us that we haven't had. So I think that's amazing to have you three ladies on here with us. So.
It was awesome. Any more staff comments?
No, I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. Well, so commissioner comments. Any fellow commissioners have any comments to make?
I just have a couple, and I've already talked to Debbie about it, that the Parks Commission page should be updated to reflect all of our new names. And also, when I went to the city calendar, just as a citizen, it shows a planning commission meeting tonight instead of a park commission, and maybe that was because of the bylaws not changing and not being set up. So if all of those little details to the public could be known, and then we can get probably more interest from the public in some of our meetings as well in the future.
And I was waiting for the election of the chair and vice chair before, so I'll get in there tomorrow morning and get that updated and the calendar.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. And all I got is, well, welcome new commissioners to the Park Commission. It's been last 2 years we haven't been able to do too much, but we got a lot of work to do. So it's going to be work. I mean, we still got a work plan. We got a lot of stuff in the works, so it's going to be longer meetings. So do prepare for that potentially. I'm sorry to the city staff already for that, but we got a lot of work and a lot of catching up to do, and we're going to make some really awesome and hopefully work with the community and serve them as we're all here to do. Um, Definitely be the ears out from we are the ears of the community to the council on the when it comes to parks. Um, I have nothing else. Does anybody have anything else? All right. So do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Been moved and seconded. All right. So all in favor of closing this meeting?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. It's been passed that this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for attending the meeting. It's been it's gonna be the first of many monthly meetings. It's gonna be amazing. And keep everyone up to date about everything going on. Thank you so much for attending.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.